What up? What up? What up? Welcome to Everything Black. Thank y'all for joining me. It's been a minute. Tonight I want to talk about Jeffrey Epstein and a few things y'all might have not knew about him. I mean, y'all know all the bad stuff about him. And I'm not here to praise this man in any kind of way. But I just wanted y'all to see what type of person he was on the business end of things. And some of the things, he made a lot of sense. Some of the things he didn't make sense. But I just wanted y'all to understand pretty much how he got started and people he met, conversations they had as far as business, and at the end, what you think about Jeffrey Epstein, and what should I have done this video? And if you will, just like and subscribe to the video. I would appreciate that. Go to YouTube, subscribe over there on all your social medias. I'm on all of them. TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. I'm on all that stuff. Show some support, I have a cash app. I ain't put that up yet. I guess I will later on. But I was just trying this new stream today over here on Google Chrome because Edge, my videos, is always choppy. And a lot of my listeners didn't like that. And let me show you my Facebook right now. And so, I had to figure out how can I make my stream a lot better so that y'all wouldn't see the choppiness. And right now, it looked like it's even choppy now, but anyway, it's not spinning where you can't hear me. But we're gonna talk about this, and I'm gonna let y'all see some of the things he said, listen and hear. Before you judge, the guy was personally, when he was dealing with the kids or whatever, the women, the young women, the young boys, they so-called had up on that island. I'm not talking about that side of it. I'm talking about the business side of it. And I thought that he said some interesting things, and I thought that you guys should, just listen to it and see why they was happy to see him and to see why him and Bill Clinton got into it. So let's listen to what he had to say.
Look, we're entering a different world where the numbers of companies, portfolio management was going to be balanced. It was going to be statistical. Jeffrey, could you come on the board?
Right now, he's talking to Steve Bannon. He's talking to Steve Bannon. And he's talking about how he was involved in the Bear Stearns situation, the housing collapse in 2008. And he's trying to explain to him how banks look at asset and how regular people look at assets. So, and he's giving out real good information as far as assets and liabilities. And what people claim is asset is really not an asset, and what people claim is liabilities are really not liabilities. So just check them out.
Potentially sit on the finance committee, Nancy Kissinger and a bunch of other people. And David Rockefeller and I got along very well. He was unbelievable human being. Respectful to everyone. He introduced his driver as his colleague, not his driver. He would never say, "This is my driver." He said, "It's my colleague." And David started to explain to me world politics. So David would say, "Jeffrey, money is going to be sort of the most important things. People don't understand money. You seem to have this knack for money." I said to David, "Tell me about your life. What was the worst and the best part of your life?" So David said, "When I grew up, everyone knew I was a Rockefeller. They didn't know that my father told me he would not leave me a dime, no money. But every time we went out to eat, me and my 5 friends in school, they would leave me the bill. They would expect me to pick up the check because I was a Rockefeller." And he said, "I was chairman of Chase Bank." And he said, "I remember like it was yesterday, one of the headlines in Time magazine said, 'David, please fire yourself.'" So he thought that there was a world that existed that would be a combination of both politics and business and leadership. What do I mean? He formed something called the Trilateral Commission. The Trilateral.
So this was so-called the beginning of the Illuminati, as some people call it. And he's telling you how the guy came up with the ideal and what he was trying to do with it. So check it out.
Commission is some spooky stuff. People said it was something, the Illuminati, there's some mystery about it, people that ran the world. It was politicians, but David said most countries, the politicians get elected for 4 years or 8 years, separate from the royal families in England or in the Middle East. Someone's there for 4 years and then they're not there anymore. The most important people to have stability and consistency would be businessmen. So he formed this Trilateral Commission of businessmen and politicians from 3 major continents. So it was the North Americans, the Europeans, and the Asians. So he said to me, "Would you like to be on the Trilateral Commission?" Now, I was 32 years old. I said, "Great." And he said, "Well, you have to fill out this application so they have your bio." And I looked at the list of people, and it was Bill Clinton, former president of the United States, Paul Volcker, every great leader in America, the Asians, the Japanese, and with a very long description of their history. And they asked me to fill in what I would like to have written. And I wrote Jeffrey Epstein, comma, just a good kid, which I thought was funny, nobody else did. So answer to your question, at that time I recognized around the world that monies and currencies were not really well understood. But again, it was only numbers. So numbers, and I'll get to the fact that it was bad thinking. Numbers are very good.
Are most people that you meet, even on Trilateral Commission, when you meet most people, do you find most leaders financially illiterate, economically illiterate?
Most political leaders don't come out of a background of finance. Most political leaders come out of a background of being popular. So in some of the countries, in some of the African countries, for example, they might have been a military person. They were a general. In some of the African countries, they might have been a disc jockey. Or in our country, they would have been an actor. The knowledge of money they don't have an expertise. They have no degrees in finance. They really, and this is one of the main.
So as you can see, he's explaining that a lot of people don't really understand money. And he's trying to explain to them that even though those guys are rich, or businessmen are rich in a sense, and are known and are very popular, not just the business people, but the actors, the entertainers, people from Africa, which was generals and shit like that, um, they don't have any idea about how money works. So they find guys like Jeffrey, who think he was some type of mathematical genius or something like that, you could say. And so they seeked his knowledge, and they would seek anybody's knowledge that can manipulate or move money around. When you have so much money, you gotta keep it moving in order to grow it. Okay? So this is what they're doing. And pay attention, this guy's giving details, I think, real good information. I mean, being kind of vague, but he's giving some inside knowledge on how businessmen think that you wouldn't think that they would be thinking that way. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so just check out what he's saying.
Your problems. Their expertise, if they have any financial knowledge, is of their own checking account or bank account and filling in their own taxes. So many world leaders who don't really have a financial underpinning make fundamental errors when it comes to money on a country or institutional level. Let me give you an example. If you, Mr. Bannon, if I said your assets increased last year, you'd say, that sounds pretty good. And I said, what does that mean to you? You'd say, well, I have more money. I guess I'm wealthier. I'd say, yes. And if your debt increased, would you feel wealthier or poorer? You'd say, well, I don't want to have increased debt. I don't like the idea of that sound, increased debt. Now, that and world leaders understand when their assets go up, they feel better. However, institutions like banks, things that people don't really understand are financial underpinnings of banks. When I say your bank, Mr. Bannon, you have the Bannon Bank, you doubled your assets. Sounds good, but what does it really mean? It means people owe you more money. You don't have any more money. What? Yeah. A bank's assets are how much it is owed by other people. That's crazy. So if the bank goes from $2 billion of assets to $10 billion, it means people owe it an additional $8 billion, but their assets have gone up. So the terminology of assets and liabilities is different for banks. It's not.
So you get it. The more people owe banks, the more they get rid of the money that every one of us put in, and they loan it. I think he's gonna explain it too. I can't remember what part of the video it is, but he does explain, like, for every dollar we give a bank, they have $9 to use to loan out. So for every dollar we give to a bank, they can loan out $9 of it. And they try to get rid of it fast so they can grow it. They rather have people owing them. That causes their net worth to grow up when people owe them. When they're sitting on the money, they don't like that. That makes them poor when they just sitting on money. Like, we put in savings account, we just sit on it. It's not doing anything. It's not moving fast. And it'll take probably, if it's 3%, if you divide it by, it's a rule called 72. If you take 3%, divide it into 72, I believe it's 21. I could be wrong. So that means it takes 21 years for your money to double. Banks cannot afford that. But they give you 3% on your savings account, but they're getting 3 times that, when they loan money. They rather have people owe them than people just throwing money in there. They get rich the more people. And I think he explained that well. A lot of people don't know that and have no idea of what he's talking about. That's why I did this section of the show to show you that they look at things a lot different than the way we look at things.
Natural. And what most people, and you asked questions about world leaders, there's many people, I think your old boss Mercer understood, there's a fundamental part of money which is called fractionalized banking. And fractionalized banking is something that finance people understand, and the people on the street, and when I say people on the street, that's where I was when I started on Wall Street, would find it impossible to believe. Impossible. Why? Bang and bank, I give you $1, just one single dollar. In our system of banking, I would say, okay, Steve, I gave you $1. How much could you lend out to your friends? And the natural reaction would be probably something less than $1 because I want to keep something in my pocket. The way our system works is if you as a bank are holding my dollar, you can lend out an additional $8 or $9. No, it's impossible. I only have $1, Jeffrey. We have something called fractionalized reserves, which is if you have 1, you can lend out 9. That's the way our system works. And so not only do world leaders not understand banking, but the man on the street, my father who worked in the park department, it would be beyond his imagination.
Just wanted y'all to get that. When they get $1 from you, they can loan out $9 to a customer or to a business. And that's called fractional lending or buying. Well, I just know it's called fractional. I'm gonna put it that way, y'all. Anyway, I hope this is helpful to y'all, and I'm gonna go ahead and speed it up to where he was talking about Bill Clinton and the housing situation. Let me get over here. Y'all can go on, I think it's Steve Bannon podcast he was doing a while back and see the whole video. I think I passed it. I think it's about right there.
2008, and they decided to bail it out. Did the Bear Stearns guys talk to you for advice at that time in the big crisis in Bear Stearns?
No, but see, again, unbeknownst to most people, and it's easy to blame people for the financial crisis, like you'd blame someone for giving your father the drink before he had his heart attack. But what really happened,
he talks about this heart attack or something happening to a human body when they die, or the cause of death, or the cause of unalivement. He talks about that over and over and over. And I don't know whether he's trying to say something or he was throwing out a subliminal message, or maybe it was nothing, but he kept going back to that explanation of why something happened to a human or something happened to a business. So it was just strange to me. He kept bringing that up, and just wanted to say that little part there. Let's go back.
enemy of the finance system was Bill Clinton. And if you ask me what and who caused the financial crisis, I would tell you it was Bill Clinton.
Because of what Bob Rubin and he did to deregulate the financial system?
No. Because as of the last time we had our 60-minute interview, you talked to me about home ownership. And you asked me whether everyone should own a home. And I told you, no, it's too risky.
For people that own a home, y'all need to listen at this. This man is finna break it down to you on how they screw you when it comes to houses, when it comes to buying a home. And there's a guy, Jason Black, I think he did it on the Business Show. He got a show called The Business. And he breaks down home ownership when they're selling these, back in 2008, when they were selling women homes, and how everything crashed from that sub-lending, or that it's a sub-lending deal. We're gonna explain it too. So I want y'all to be careful when y'all buying houses. Get with the right realtor. I have a friend in Dallas. I call her Dee Dee, but I think she changed it to Dee Dee the Dream. It may have been always Dee Dee the Dream. But anyway, I'm gonna try to get her back on the show. She's a realtor, and she can break it down a little better. But this guy is telling you, when you buy a house, it might not be the right time or right decision unless you got the cash to do so. Don't do it knowing you don't have the cash to do so. And we're gonna explain why. This is why the 2008 crash has happened. We're gonna explain exactly why it happened.
So the financial collapse of 2008 is because of hardworking African Americans, Hispanics, and whites who wanted to have a ownership stake in.
And like I say, these are racist. Steve Bannon is really racist, but he didn't have to even bring that part up. He could have said that hardworking Americans trying to buy a home that was getting them and couldn't afford them. That's what he should have said. These hardworking Americans was trying to find homes that couldn't afford them. He tried to clean it up when he said black. I don't know why in white conversations, when white Americans have conversations, they gotta, no matter who having a conversation, if they're not a foundation black Americans, they always gotta bring our names up. Most black people are not studying or caring or acknowledging what white people do. And I think, according to Neville Fuller, we should always study them like they studied us. But Steve Bannon tried to clean this up by saying he had whites at the end. But he's mainly talking about black people who was sold this sub-lending or sub-mortgaging type thing. Subprime, that's what they call it, the subprime mortgage thing, where you really couldn't afford to have, but they were trying to make it where you could, and eventually everybody lost their homes.
In the society that all rests on their shoulders, they're the culprits.
No, not at all.
Okay, then
I didn't say they were the culprits. I was pretty clear it was Bill Clinton.
Okay.
And why was it Bill Clinton? Because Bill Clinton wanted to get votes from those people. And he sold them the idea that instead of renting in a house, and historically the values of houses have gone up, and he said, you guys in these local communities who haven't been able to afford a house before, I'm going to show you a way. I'm going to give you a way, because I'm sure I'll get your vote, that you can own a house, because I want your vote. So what we're going to do is I'm going to let you buy a house, Mr. Bannon, when you really, you're right on the border, maybe, or not even on the border. Your credit is not good. Okay, let's be honest. And it's not my fault. It's not Bill Clinton's fault. But whatever happens, at the moment your credit score or whatever it is, your credit's not good. Now, normally, you come to me.
Now, you notice they never say that to white Americans. They will make up all kind of excuses and go through all kind of loopholes to get these people houses. And I want y'all to go check out the Homestead Act back in the day when they did that. Black Americans wasn't a part of that, but everybody in the country got pieces of that. Martin Luther King talks about that on the video. And happy Black History Month, by the way, to everybody. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing good. So listen to what he's saying.
And want to borrow money, I'm a bank. And I say, I'm sorry, Mr. Bannon, I can't lend you money because your credit score is not up to where it needs to be. Hopefully, if you work harder and clean up some of your problems, it will be. But no, what I say to you is, I'm going to figure out a way to lend you, not give you. I'm going to lend you money anyway, though you don't have a good credit score. And don't worry, I'm going to get rid of the term that you don't have bad credit.
See, he didn't like that with Clinton, giving homes to basically poor people with bad credit, which most of the time is black. Now, there's a book called The Color of Money. Y'all need to read that book. It's people with money, black people who had money and tried to do business with these upscale banks like Chase Bank and JP Morgan, and they are manipulating those people with plenty of money and good credit. Go read that book on how they do black people in certain spaces up there with the wealthy people, the people who could afford these houses without a subprime loan. See how they do those people. So it's all about racism. When anybody tell you it's not about racism, it's lying to you.
Bad credit sounds pejorative. You don't want to be a person.
Sounds judgmental.
Yes, sounds judgmental. So what we're going to do is we're going to call your credit situation subprime. Oh, nobody knows what that means. Subprime. That means prime is good credit. Subprime is not good credit. Less than good credit. So we'll call it something that people really won't follow. And we'll tell you what. We're going to have people lend you money, though you are a subprime borrower. And I will figure out some government agencies to guarantee your loan, though I don't think you're a good risk. So the banks say, no, we don't want, initially. The bank said, sorry, this is too risky, Mr. President, for us. We're in the business of managing risk. It's not our money. It's the hard-working people's money sitting in our bank. We can't lend to people whose credit is not prime. You're asking us to lend to people who are subprime. And he says, here's the key, if you don't, Mr. Bannon, I'm going to make sure the Justice Department charges you with discriminatory lending because you refuse to lend to my subprimers.
So you see how that went? Y'all see how that go? That's why him and Bill Clinton got into it. Maybe it was that, maybe it wasn't. But that's, as far as I can see, why they got into it. But I don't think he got into it over the fact that he was giving black people money and calling them subprime owners. I think they got into another issue, which I think, remember when all those banks was about to go under, and Obama had to come save the bankers and the car dealerships, and he spent billions of these are people, like I say, they take our money and they don't even know what the fuck they be doing. They just take it, and later on they get so greedy till it explodes on them. But apparently they knew what was gonna happen when he started that subprime stuff. So I just wanted to show this video, and I hope y'all gain some knowledge on it, or I hope it helps somebody when you go and purchase these homes that you know you can't afford. And if you can afford them, man, more power to you. I'm happy to see you getting them houses. I'm happy to see you doing your thing. But if you know you can't afford one, don't do it. Just rent, put your money up, stack it up until you can get there on where you're trying to get as far as buying a home. But y'all don't, a lot of people don't know it's easier to buy a franchise than it is to buy a home. It's easier to start a franchise business than it is to buy a home. A franchise business, you only need like $250K sitting in your bank account. With a home, if you find a $400,000, $300,000 home, you're gonna end up paying almost $1 million for that one home. And that $1 million value ain't gonna catch up for probably 20, 30 by the time you get through paying for it, which now they saying mortgages went from 30 a year to 50 a year or something like that. Even your car note is going to go to 10 years. And who can maintain a car for 10 years without a significant cost somewhere along the line? Anyway, this is Frank Planning. I put Frank B on there, so y'all just start calling me Frank B. That's cool. And thank y'all for listening. Please join. Please share. And I'm probably gonna start going live here soon, but right now I'd like the recorded version to see how people relate. Anyway, thank y'all for joining. This is Frank Planning, Everything Black. Thank you. We're gonna go out with the beat like we always do. Until next time, Everything Black.